Hello everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we are back with another brand new video. Today's our video as we are getting closer and closer to Christmas. We have been given the gift of a trip up to Perth to play St Johnstone, which if you take a step back and you just look at that, that's basically the football equivalent of a stocking full of coal. But before we go any further on with today's video, as always, a bit of a cheap plug bit. If you enjoy the channel, why not help the channel out by hitting that subscribe button? It's free, doesn't cost you a penny, it takes 2 seconds and it helps all of us on our way to hopefully one day reaching 55k. But speaking of on our way, let's get on with the video then, shall we? And jump right into the old oppositional preview and have a look at this St Johnstone side who are currently sitting 10th in the SPFL. And you know, son, for these oppositional previews, it usually goes one of two ways. Either a team's on a fantastic bit of form, undefeated in the last couple of games, and we break all that down, or we have a look at the teams that kind of hit a barn door with a shotgun and are absolute dog meat. But honestly, neither of those fit with St Johnstone. Yes, they are sitting 10th, and yes, they have no wins in the last 5 league matches coming into this game versus Rangers, which if you take that, you slap that and you put it together like that, that helps to spread the old Christmas cheer from a Rangers perspective. But we try and go a wee bit deeper here on the channel, and I think if you go in and you check that winless 5-game run, they do have a 2-2 draw at Easter Road where they led twice, by the way, and forced Hibs to come back twice, including a late equaliser. You have a 1-1 draw versus Celtic at Parkhead where once again St Johnstone scored in the game but conceded a late equaliser, and you go through the games right to the most recent game, which was an away trip up to St Mirren where, you guessed it ladies and gentlemen, St Johnstone took the lead twice in the game, were pegged back and went a step further this time. Not only did they concede a late equalising goal, but they went on to lose the game with another late goal, 3-2 to St Mirren. Now, to be fair to St Johnstone, in that game of football when they were winning, they did receive a straight red card and were playing from 10 men 45 minutes onwards, so you can look into that and maybe blame the fact that they did receive a red card. But for me, the pattern is still there, and that's the most important thing I've took from looking into St Johnstone. This is a team that gives every team they play, no matter who or where it is, a very tough game. So to me, despite the clickbait that's out there about this team losing the last 2 league matches, winless in the last 5, I'm not getting caught up in expecting an easy game coming up in Perth the more. In fact, it's never ever going to be easy. No matter who you're playing, with the amount of games that we are playing thick and fast, there's no easy games in December or January. And I look at this St Johnstone side and I see a team that's able to sit the stall out and frustrate teams, but also have that attacking threat because they can score goals. They've showed that all season long, and the threat for set pieces has literally been their bread and butter. But that isn't the only thing they've been doing all season long. They've got another bit of bread and butter, ladies and gentlemen. You may have guessed it from our previous breakdown, but this team that we face tomorrow, I absolutely love conceding late goals. They've conceded a league high 7 goals after the 80th minute in a game, and actually they've conceded 3 goals after 90 minutes of play. 1 versus Hibs where they lost due to a 93rd minute penalty, and they conceded 2 versus Celtic as they held them to a blank all the way through but got caught pushing too many men forward trying to sting Celtic from a set piece. They conceded in the 91st, then the 93rd frickin' minute. So I think if you take that and you look at what's out there, I think it's best maybe now me and they start to mentally prepare ourselves for a late goal coming tomorrow versus St Johnstone. When that late goal does come, if it does, but again it suggests it, let's just hope it's the 3rd or 4th goal from Rangers. That would be nice. But regarding the actual St Johnstone team, they've not actually tweaked or changed their tactics at all since we bet them 3-0 in the 2nd game of the season, pretty comfortably in that game of football. But they still line up in that 3-4-2-1 formation, which is very unusual to see in Scottish football. But it is a formation that is causing teams a lot of problems, especially teams like Hibs and Celtic and us that like to play out from our fullbacks and do a lot of attacking, because Witherspoon on one side and Conway on the other, the two that's supposed to be up front, they just drop right all the way back and double up in that fullback position. That is why they stifled Hibs, and that is why they stifled Celtic at Parkhead. But I do think it is worth mentioning that this team's still sitting 10th for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. And despite their formation being unusual and doubling up in fullbacks and getting good results versus Hibs and versus Celtic, they still have major issues with their team, and that's the balance right up the middle of the park. And I think this game of football, I think we're going to need something from our midfield. I think we're going to need runners in behind and creating gaps, because they will try to do what St Mirren and Motherwell's done pretty effectively by quiet and doing our ridiculously good fullbacks. But that's time now for the people up the middle to go ahead and dace on, because that's why they're sitting 10th in the league, ladies and gentlemen. They're not here beating teams week in and week out. They still have major flaws to take advantage of. Here's hoping we can do that the more. And you know, son, with that being said, that's a sort of done and dusted with the old oppositional preview right frickin' there. I think they're much better than maybe what's been portrayed and clickbaited out there. They're a hard battling, tough tackling SOB Scottish side that you expect, but also they've got that ability just to work their absolute arse off. They really have a bit of a togetherness with them, and I think that is why, as we've already discussed, that you are going to have to pull a rabbit out of a hat to beat them, because they didn't stop running, and that's what I'm expecting to see the more. A lot more running and tackling and getting stuck in than what we saw when we played Motherwell, who just sat with everyone back. This one will be a bit more in our faces, still defensive, but it's going to be a bit more of a battle, and we will need to match their intensity and go a step above it if we want to come away with all 3 points. But with the oppositional preview now done and dusted, let's flip over and talk about the Rangers news then, shall we? Because we have some important team news to break down, and as always, a bit of a Rangers conversation. So jumping straight into it, I don't know how you feel and how you're reflected back now. It's been a couple of days since the raw emotion, maybe relief of that game versus Motherwell. But for me, when I look back in that game of football, it just feels more than 3 points. Because if you think about it, that was the first time this season real questions have been asked about our mentality, our bottle, because we heard that after losing to St Mirren, and then the way this game started versus Motherwell with us falling behind, that just raised that all the way up. That raised the bar to a level that we've not been able to overcome since Walter Smith was in charge, in my opinion. But we did it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, was it pretty? Absolutely not, but it was never ever going to be with the circumstances we faced ahead of the game, then actually in the game versus a team that had every single man inside their box. Go ahead and check the heat map. It's absolutely terrifying when you look at that. But those last 15 minutes, our ability to reach in to our bench and pick out quality after quality and change things based on the circumstances and what we were facing in that game leaves me so damn positive, because to me now, that game was a wee reminder that we have every tool that we need to overcome any obstacle or situation we find ourselves in. And let's just be brutally honest, ladies and gentlemen, this test that we face versus St Johnstone is just as big and just as important as that game versus Motherwell. Every game now is a must win, but again, I'm feeling more positive than I did maybe Thursday and Friday going into Motherwell. I've seen something that I've not seen in the Rangers team since I had black hair at the side of my head here, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just believing too much in the boys, but what's wrong with that? Now, from a game of football point of view, I think a couple of players played themselves really into contention for this game to be given an opportunity, to be given a chance. And I'm talking about your man Hadji, who for me, again, changed the game like that when he came on. Was he absolutely perfect with every pass and every shot? Not. But was he willing to run and stretch people and create gaps? Yes, and that's what you need versus a packed box. So I think he's definitely played himself into contention. And that right there leads to Steven frickin' Gerrard, who has a very interesting decision to make ahead of the game for the old gaffer, because a player like Scotty Arfield, who has been absolutely incredible this season, has had back-to-back games where he was absolutely barking, and I didn't want to be sitting here saying that. I love Scotty Arfield. You all know that. I've got a poster there. I'm sitting, right, didn't look at me, Scotty, when I'm saying, didn't look at me, son. But I have to be honest on the channel, because if I'm no, what's the point of it? But all daggers and all that to one side, I'm not just looking at Arfield saying, oh, he shouldn't be near the squad or anything like that. He's a fantastic player, but he's a fantastic player that's only lasted 50 minutes in back-to-back games for Rangers. So there could be an opportunity to freshen that up and freshen him up to help him get back to just saying Scotty Arfield things. And I think there's a couple of boys that's went out there and put a performance out versus Motherwell that say, hey, you can trust me to go out there and play to the Rangers standard. And I just think that, and the fact that there is games coming so thick and fast, we may see a couple of wee opportunities given to go out there and make an impression. And that right there leads me to the one player who is back available for selection on, and it is none other than your man Alfredo frickin' Morelos. That's right, people, the Buffalo Soldier is back in contention for this game, and that leaves the question of the episode, as you can imagine, does Alfredo go right back in to the starting 11 for you? Whilst you guys are getting your thoughts and opinions out there, despite me talking about this and giving other players a chance and how impressive Itten was in the previous game versus Motherwell, I still think you start Alfredo Morelos in this game. I think the fact that he is fresher, of course, is going to help as well. And I just think when Alfredo Morelos is at his best, it's after the person who's been selected ahead of him has went ahead and done things. You think your last season when he was scoring all the goals, it's because Jermaine Defoe was scoring every single time he went on to that park. Instead, when you look at that last game, a lot of people was now really impressed with Cedric Itten. So I just think you take the leash off Alfredo and you go out there and do things. And the way his build-up play in that is, the fact that he can hold a guy, create space for others. He might not be scoring as much as we previously had in seasons and as much as we want him to, but he still occupies defenders and creates space. And versus a team that doesn't give much space away, I think Alfredo could be massive in this game. Now, whether or not you want him to start in the game, having him back in contention is certainly a positive, and that kind of leads us into the next one as well, because we got an update regarding Ryan Jack, and unfortunately he's not back for this game, but they are hopeful he will be back for Hibs, which I couldn't stress the importance of having Jack for that game on Boxing Day. So that's a bit of good news, and that leads me to the last bit. No one else has been officially ruled out. That's including Leon Balogun, so thankfully the head knock wasn't as serious as it possibly could have been. The big man's back in action. The only officially ruled out player is, of course, your man Katic, who is edging closer and closer to being back in there as well, and that's so damn positive and so great to be able to sit here and say. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. With everything that I've said, that's the oppositional preview, that is the Rangers conversation, and that is the Rangers team news wrapped up in a neat little bow. Now we've took all of that, it's time for me to hand that over to you. Hand the parcel over to you. Do you think I've done enough Christmas puns? No? Okay. Because I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this game. Let's see it down there in the comment section below. And whilst you guys get your predictions out there, I will give you mine very, very briefly. I've kind of said it all, if I'm honest. Hard, tough, it's going to be a battle, but I do think we'll come out the other side. Now, I originally think it's just going to be 1-0 to Rangers in this game, but Son's telling me 2-0, so I'm actually going to go away from the 1 and go with the 2. My goal scorers, Alfredo Morelos and Connor Goldson. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That's us reached the end of today's video. If you've made it all the way here, by the way, shout out to you, absolute legends. I greatly appreciate you taking your time out your day to sit and listen to me talk about Rangers things. But as Rocky is actually rustling in the back, they're probably trying to sneak a snack or something like that. It's time to wrap up today's video. So take care of yourselves, everyone. All the best, and bye.